Hey, welcome back to Kickin' and Streamin'. It's me, Tammy, and I'm back with another of the Sundance 2020 films that I saw over the festival. This one is called Vivos. It is a documentary in the World Documentary Competition, and it's based on the events that happened in September of 2014 when a group of students in Mexico were kidnapped on the bus and disappeared and no one saw them again. Now, I remember when this happened. It was absolutely horrific. And to this day, we don't know what happened to them. Now, this film is really about the aftermath and how this not knowing what has happened to 43 students, young men who were in school trying to help improve the lives of their family members who were living in very rural and very poor conditions. Education is what's going to raise people out of poverty and out of these conditions. And, this devastation just affected so many lives. And, I think what they started with when they were telling this story about this documentary, they had the best of intentions. The first 30 minutes, it was really, kind of showing the aftermath for the family and how completely devastating this loss was. And so the first 30 minutes were really super compelling, and we wanted to learn more about these people that we're spending this time with, and then, it was very slow and, kind of people showing the grief, which is all really important, as we're trying to connect to these people, and then they were able to do interviews with human rights attorneys, reporters, government officials, and stuff. But then they kind of lost the story that they were telling. And, after the first 30 minutes, because they had introduced all of these characters and were following these families. But then instead of giving us more information that is giving us a place where we can follow along and figure out what's happened, it just kind of the storytelling fell apart. And, I hate to be critical of such a film that has such high aspirations, but documentary film, is still telling a story. It's telling a true story about people that we want to connect with, and we don't connect. It started to get boring because instead of, they were showing pictures and these were beautiful panoramic views, but there was no dialogue, there was no voiceover, there was no subtitle, there was nothing. It was just a pretty picture. And unfortunately, there was minutes of that at a time, and you start to disconnect from the story that's being told, and that's not the intention that I believe that the filmmaker had when they were starting this project. It was directed by Ai Weiwei, who is Chinese, and I'm not necessarily familiar with his work, but he wanted, he felt compelled to tell a story. And, in the process of interviewing all of these families and these, officials, they just kind of forgot to tell the story. So, unfortunately, there was a story of a family whose son was injured and was in a, there was a traumatic brain injury. Not sure if it was brain death or, a permanent vegetative state or what, but we don't even know how they were connected to this event. There was really no connection. There was things that were like, okay, we learn about this. How is that connected to the story that you're telling over here? And so there was a lot of that disconnect, unfortunately. Again, this is a horrific story, and it affected me. I remember hearing about this, students who just vanished, and I might be a fan of true crime, and one thing that always strikes me as the most horrible thing that a parent can go through in case of like a missing child is the not knowing what happened, and how completely paralyzing that can be. When my brother passed away, I was absolutely devastated. Absolutely devastated. But I knew where he was. There was no question. Like there was no of this not knowing. And I was able to grieve and heal and move forward. And I unfortunately I can totally feel the desperation of these families who want to know what happened to their family members. But, in terms of a film, the story, it just fell apart. And I feel really bad to critique it that way, again, because I wanted to know more about these families and the devastation, but then what was happening, because there was a lot of things that were happening towards the end of when they were filming, that there were some new investigations happening and things like that. And it just started to get kind of interesting again in terms of a story, but it ended. So anyway, unfortunately Vivos was really the only fail for me of the films that I saw. And again, I wanted to like this film, but it was really, it just fell apart for me. But there are other stories out there about the story of these kids, and the families, and so, I know that I'm going to go looking for more information, and I hope that you do too. So, anyway, so that's one of my documentaries. I have one more that I'll be reviewing. I'm not sure when it'll get posted in terms of if this one goes up first or the other one. But yeah, I did see some interesting films, and I'm anxious to share my reviews with you. And so, with whatever you're watching, whether you're watching from the comfort of your own house or the beauty that is and gloriousness that is the movie theater, I hope you're enjoying whatever you're watching, and I'll see you again here soon.